It's rolling now.
Hello, everyone.
We're rolling, babe. We're on. Jeez.
We're on the Sean and
Ladies
Sax
and
Show at this moment.
Welcome to the Sean and Sax Show. I'm Sean Whalen, and this is Saxony Whalen, my lovely wife.
Babe, tomorrow is our second
we should talk about
year anniversary.
You know what's
that
crazy?
That may not sound like a lot to some of y'all
made
listeners.
it to 2. We made it, gosh darn it. You know what?
Our 2 feels like, and I had actually a friend
200?
say this. Yeah, well, I had a friend say, she's like, our 11 years is like your guys' 2 years because you do so much stuff. You consolidate or not consolidate, you condense so much into every day. She's like, it's like you guys have been together forever, and you've only been married 2 years.
2 years.
Congratulations. That was a long 2 years. But it was good.
That was a really good fucking 2 years.
It was a great 2 years, but it was.
We've done more things in 2 years than probably either of us has in 20.
Yeah.
Without question.
For sure.
We've traveled more. We've experienced more. We've done more. Like, we've done so many ridiculous things.
We've had so many highs, a few lows.
Couple 3 dozen. Couple 3.
Whee!
All of them.
Whee!
That's actually kind of wild. We weren't going to talk about that, but we should. Let's just do, we'll do an extra episode tomorrow. Let's do that tomorrow. We'll do a 2-year anniversary episode. We'll do like our biggest lessons in the last 2 years, and it'll be like a 6-hour podcast.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. So we'll stick with the
congratulations.
subject. I know.
Congratulations.
Congrats to you too. Well done, sir.
We'll talk more about that tomorrow. That is tomorrow, though.
Mm-hmm.
What's the gift you're supposed to give for 2 years? I don't know. I'll have to Google that. Does anybody know? You know how every anniversary there's like a gift or it's like your theme?
It's probably like a piece of paper. 2 years is like probably.
I'm down for that.
It's very like low on the totem pole. Like there's one. I think year like 5 or 7 or something is wood. Like
which
here,
one's the
I chopped
one?
you down a tree. Here's your wood gift. I knew a guy that gave his wife a candle with a wood wick. And but she actually loved it because she loved the sentimental value that he remembered it was the year of wood.
You should really be excited that I remembered.
It's because I've been reminding you a lot.
Have been.
It's okay.
So gift for a 2-year anniversary. It doesn't say socks. There's socks.
There's a year of socks.
It doesn't say. I'll have to look it up later. Anyways, it's our anniversary tomorrow. I'm excited.
I think it's the year of tattoos.
Yeah, we are getting a tattoo, we decided, which is cool.
Uh-huh.
You going to tell them what
it literally came to me in I think it was a dream.
Yeah.
So I love this hand sign. If you're not watching us, it's just like the peace hand sign, right? Like I used to do thumbs up a lot, and then Donald Trump kind of took that, and I was like, yeah, that's not really my thing anymore. It's his thing. Like, okay, I'll let him have it. So, like, and you just do your thing. Like, so peace sign. And I thought, that's 2. 1, 2. That's very cute. And I said, hey, do you want to get the peace fingers tattooed on your body for the rest of your life for your 2nd year anniversary with me? And he said, sure.
We should get a tattoo every year.
That's what I said.
That'd
in the
cool.
bathtub.
We got this. When did we get this when we got married?
We got the infinity sign. We got married. And
we
then
got that. When did we get that?
Basically.
Call that around 1.
We'll call it around 1.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get tattoos.
Yep.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll do another episode. So there's a treat this week. We'll do 2 episodes. But this week we wanted to talk about something very, very, very good and very important.
It's very on the top of Sean's mind as of this morning.
Yeah. So we're going to break this down for you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are, I assume, and I shouldn't assume, I know, because Don Miguel Ruiz says not to assume in the 4 agreements. But I'm going to assume that if you're watching this podcast that you truly want to have an epic life, okay? And I've said this before. I'm going to assume that if you're watching this podcast and you're listening to Saxony and I, whether you're listening just to listen or whether you're listening to learn, I don't really know. Yeah. But I'm going to assume that you actually want to grow, that you want to expand, that you're listening for maybe a nugget or 2 or 10 that we throw out every week.
Maybe
or
they just think we're crazy and
whatever. Maybe you're listening to be entertained. I don't really care. But this is something that has come up a handful of times, and it came up again this morning as someone shared with me a post on social media. And I'm not going to read it, and I'm not going to name names, or I'm going to put these the people who say these things out there because it's irrelevant.
You know who you
are. No, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But this is something that's really, really, really powerful for you and I, and very fucking important. And this is something that as a couple who is out there, who chose and has chosen and continues to choose to live our lives on our sleeves, to share who we are, to share what we are, to share the ups and the downs, not just on this podcast, but everything else. I chose this before I chose you, before we got married.
As did I.
And Sax chose this before we got married, and this is something that we are both very committed to. Now, you can take that for what it's worth. You can say that we're being weird. You can say that we have ego problems. We have daddy issues. I don't really give a fuck. You can say whatever you want. We've just both chosen to live our lives very, very, very transparently. And so we've chosen to live everything transparently, not a give or choose or pick or only the really shiny, fluffy objects or the things that aren't, we really put a lot out there. Like I would be willing to bet that we talk more about our sex life than any other couple out there. We talk more about parenting than very many other couples out there. We talk more about our businesses and our dreams, about God, about our faith, about our past, about our issues, about our insecurities and our fears than really a whole lot of other people out there. And that does two things. I think that inspires and motivates a lot of people, but it also shines a glaring light into some people's eyes that becomes very uncomfortable. And someone said this to me years and years and years ago, and it's always stuck with me, and I probably vibe with it more than anything else. He's like, you're kind of like a light switch. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, remember when you were a kid and you'd be laying in bed and mom would come in and flip the lights on and you're like, oh my God, pull the covers up and you don't want to get out and go to school and whatever. He's like, you're kind of like that. Because the reality is, that you need the light to be able to see, and that the light's good because it helps the flowers grow and everything else, but it's very uncomfortable at times. And he's like, you're a lot like that. Like you flip the light on and it is without question a guiding principle, but it's also very, very painful at times. And there was a post that came up this morning that has been very reoccurring in our marriage and in our lives.
For sure. Especially
recently. Now, for those of you that don't know, I did a program called 75 Hard that my friend Andy Frisilla came up with a number of years ago, 4 years ago or so, and it changed my life forever. It changed my mental game. It changed my health. I went from being Captain Dad Bod, who I went to the gym and I'd done Ironmans and I'd had fights and the whole thing, but I went from being, the dude who still had a lot of insecurities to take his shirt off at the beach to enjoying taking his shirt off because he got fucking ripped. And it was the first time that I actually understood how to become aesthetically, in shape.
Right.
And it helped. If you kind of line up all the dots and you put the pieces of the puzzle together, you kind of see, I believe success leaves clues, right? And in the last, say, 4 years, my businesses have exploded with growth. I've gone from being single to being married. I'm probably in the best mental place that I've ever been in my entire life. I look better physically and aesthetically than I've ever looked in my entire life. I have a deeper connection with my children than I've ever had in my entire life. I have, without question, the most profound relationship with deity and God that I've ever had in my entire life. And I will attribute it to kind of step number one was getting control of my health and getting control of my body, mastering my body. And I know that you struggled, Sax, and you've talked about it openly in the podcast, your eating disorder and spending a number of years not very
17 years of my upbringing with an eating disorder.
Right.
Very, very real. Living in a lot of shame.
Right.
A lot of shame.
And you spent a lot of time working out and going to the gym, and fitness has always been something to you.
Right.
But within the last 2.5 years, understanding not just Hashimoto's and everything else, but really like starting to test your body and getting your blood work done and doing these things has helped you get absolutely shredded. Plain and simple, done and done. Like sexy drop dead 6-pack shredded, right? You plain and simple. It's what it is. And what's really interesting is that I have found that people that aren't where they want to be, they naturally choose to attack and or villainize and or become the victim towards the people who are where they want to be, right? Now, you can call that a presumptuous statement. I don't really care. It's what it is. I know that's a fact because I spent many years of my life doing that.
Right.
Looking at the dudes that were at the gym that were ripped going, oh, yeah, well, it's genetics, or he must do fucking massive steroids, or he spends 10 hours. I judged the fuck out of those people. And what I realized is that I hadn't built the discipline to build what they had built, period, end of story. And I did this with money, and I did this with relationships and the whole thing.
Sure.
And over the last probably 2 years, well, year, I would say year, like our relationship this year has been really, really good. You know, a year ago we were on the rocks and we were dabbling in wondering what the hell we were going to do and having some thoughts. And I would say that probably the last 6, 7, 8 months have been really, really, really good. A lot of fire.
Yeah, but we just really ripped off some old shit that we were carrying that was not serving us.
I think you and I, now that you've kind of gotten the Hashimoto's thing squared away and a couple other things, I think you and I individually are probably as powerful as we've ever been in our life.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
Uh-huh.
Individually. Mm-hmm. I'm more confident, more certain than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yep.
About me, about my marriage, about my businesses, about my life, about my spirituality. Would you say the same?
Absolutely.
Like for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like when you've finally gotten to a place where what it is it's that I've gotten to a place where I know that I honor myself at all times. There was a time when it's like I would appear like I was honoring myself, but really I was not taking care of my body, or I was not taking care of myself spiritually, and I didn't really have a close connection with God. And when you take care of all of those things, you feel and you know who you are, and you have a different presence, because it's like you can't lie to yourself, right? If you're fat, it's because somewhere along the line you are not taking care of yourself, period. And I argue this, and you can whatever you want. I have PCOS and Hashimoto's. One of the number one symptoms of both of those is being obese. Right. I'm not obese because I told myself I won't be obese because I will take care of myself. Right. Therefore, I'm not a statistic. I don't believe in those things, and I honor myself and do what's necessary. And in turn, I know who I feel solid in my own skin. Right.
And having two parents who neither of them were very aligned with fitness or made fitness an emphasis or a point as a kid, I was not raised in that. I was not raised with the mindset and the mentality of fitness and being in shape and eating healthy and these different things. And it became something that I had to reprogram my brain. Mm-hmm. And reprogramming my brain obviously has led me to a vastly different reality than where I was for 39 years of my life, 40 years of my life, right? And what I find really interesting is, I want this podcast to be very specific on a topic, but I also realize that many of you listening are deathly afraid of living your life all in. I know that a lot of people listening are very much, trying to wean information from what we talk about and how we live our life, because we're so fucking open. We see it every day. We see it through the results and the comments through people going, oh my God, you guys are amazing, couple goals, da, da, da. We have our own shit and we get it. We talk about it all day long. Mm-hmm. But the reality is we're so fucking open with who we are and where we are that it makes a lot of people radically uncomfortable. And when people become uncomfortable, they love to throw the shade, and they love to take a position of saying you're wrong, you're bad. Nowadays, because we talk a lot about God, and we have for quite a while, people like to talk about how we're not Christian and we're not following the thing and towing the line and doing what Christians do, so on and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. Now, this specifically came up this morning because there was a post that I happened to be tagged in, and somebody had shared, a couple people shared with me, from a gentleman who was talking about objectifying your women. Mm-hmm. And he was specifically talking about how disturbing it was that some dudes out there objectify sexually their wives by posting risque pictures and half-naked pictures, so on and so forth. And this gentleman decides to go off about how we're making those of us who do this, and I know where this was going, and there's a reason that multiple people talked about me in this post, and there's a reason that multiple people shared it with me. Because
and it's okay even if he wasn't talking about you, because you do what he said, not in the opinion of what he said.
Now this is, again, consider the source. This is coming from a boy who's not married, who hasn't stepped up into actually becoming a a man of nobility to honor a woman enough to take her hand in marriage. She's still dating, but hey, I'll give him a little bit of slack there. You know, you make your wife a sexual object knowing, now this was the interesting part, and this is what I really wanted to fucking touch on, because I'm proud as fuck of my wife. And I think that you're proud of me. And I think one of the things that's really missing in relationships is men and women honoring and being proud as fuck of their partner.
Yeah.
Like truly honoring their partner for who the fuck they really are, for standing in their own power and their own certainty, for seeing what they do. You see so many men who have women who take on the fitness challenge after having children and get ripped, and they still look like fat fucking slobs who talk down and belittle instead of honoring their woman. You see women who do the same thing, who talk shit about their man or this or that or the other. And I'm so fucking on the opposite end of this spectrum, in the sense, like, I took your hand in marriage. There's nothing other than honor in that reality. And watching you win and succeed doesn't make me any less. Right. It makes us better. It makes us grow. Why would I not honor my wife? Why would I not honor the fuck out of the work that she does, that you do every single day to overcome diseases, to overcome, addictions, to overcome these things, to take your God-given temple of your body and literally work it to perfection, work it to a place of real excellence. And this is where a lot of people go sideways. This is where a lot of you Christians, quote unquote Christians listening to this, have a really fucking hard time with sexy people. You got a hard time with a dude who takes his shirt off, who's ripped as fuck because, oh, my wife. I mean, what is my wife going to think? You got two choices, buddy. Live in that place of little boy scarcity, or step the fuck up and go to the gym.
And we are each other's mirrors. It's when, I'll speak for myself on this. If I'm triggered by something, it's because you're reflecting, or whoever you are, whatever's outside of me is reflecting something that I'm uncomfortable with myself. That is fact. And this is truth.
Again, I'm not going to speak about this person, but it's very apparent in looking at just simple pictures that this gentleman is not anywhere close to where I am in physique at all, not even remotely close. So I understand where the scarcity comes. I understand when you look at me and you see me in great fucking physique and great shape, and you see my wife doing the same thing. I understand why that would trigger you.
Read the rest of that, because I have something to say in addition to that.
Now, there's a couple points in this that I wanted to talk about. Okay, how are you going to talk about this and expose her like fresh meat? For likes and for followers to propose you're busy. We talk about integrity and leadership, and you can't even respect your wife. What's fascinating to me is that someone thinks that me celebrating my wife's success is dishonoring her publicly. Now, what's really interesting is that we'll then go to quote-unquote official models. We'll look at fitness people who wear bikinis and short shorts, and we clap and applaud them for the work. Look, they did this, but my soccer mom wife looks hot as shit. And I post a picture of her in a bikini. Oh, how scandalous and not Christian of me. How could you do such a thing? How could you objectify your wife like this? What's the difference? Now, here's the part. This is what really got me fucking tickled. This really got me tickled. And we're going to...
This is all over breakfast.
Yeah, I was going, man. I was going. Listen to this. Again, I don't want to read the whole thing. Some people will probably know, and I don't even really give a fuck. How can you live knowing there might be dudes, people who you even call friends, rubbing one off on your wife's name because of how you're exposing her?
I have so much to say.
Oh, baby, you start.
So
you
much
take
to
this.
say. Okay.
You take this, baby.
Since I was a wee little thing, I have been against the double standards put on women. This is a bunch of bullshit. If you know me, like the whole free the nipple thing is a joke. But who decided, honestly, think about it. Who decided that I needed to cover up, that I needed to not be a temptation to you? Who decided that I needed to fit in your box because it triggers you? Or, I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole in this. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. So is he rubbing one out every time he goes to the pool? Is he rubbing one out every time he is standing at the checkout line and he sees some magazine? This is a bunch of bullshit about I'm being objectified. It's why have you decided that you can't handle yourself seeing the skin of a woman? I don't need to shrink myself to keep your freaking...
Preach. Get 'em.
I'm not even going to go there, but I don't need to shrink myself.
No, listen.
I don't need to be small.
Amen.
For anybody.
Amen.
Hold on, one more thing though.
Keep going.
Is if I feel empowered by the fact that I have created 2 human beings, I'm almost 40 years old. I have 2, I don't call them diseases. I have 2 conditions that very much affect the way I physically look, the way I physically feel. I show up to the gym every single day and work my butt off. I don't need to show off on the internet, but do you know how many women I have in my DMs thanking me for showing up, for thanking me for freaking inspiring them to not be little, to not be shy, to not be insecure. It's like I get so many of those. I don't give a fuck about the guy whacking off because he has a porn problem. I care about the women that I inspire to show up and be bright and be brave. Period.
Give me some love. Give me some of that.
This whole thing.
You good?
This whole thing.
You want to keep going?
No, go ahead.
I know you could keep going.
I know I could.
I know you could keep going.
This is part of it. It's like when I spent 17 years being bulimic, I was so insecure. I was so afraid. I wasn't empowered to be in my skin. I wasn't empowered to be big and bold. And I look back and that didn't happen for no reason. Like I got a really, really, really hard lesson to where now I will fight against this shit. Like I don't believe that women, I mean, it's not as bad in our country as there are other countries where women are literally not even allowed to show their ankles because that's what's appropriate. Yeah. Who the fuck decided what's appropriate? I don't have an OnlyFans account. I have children. I am not like throwing it out there. But if I have a freaking full piece swimsuit on that shows the edge of my hips, give me a fucking break.
Or you have a bikini on.
Or
that shows your fucking gluteus maximus, which you've been working on.
I'm sorry, but
And
I see more male nipples on the internet on a daily basis than I do females. And is anybody uproaring about that?
Listen, we went down the rabbit hole on this morning, and this is something that I'm passionate about for 2 reasons. Number one, what you just talked about. Like, how the fuck do you play so small, friends? Because you're worried about somebody else who hasn't done fuck all of the work that you're going to play small. You're going to be ashamed. Let's talk about the body for a second. You're going to be ashamed and hide the work that you did because someone else is uncomfortable with it. You're going to allow someone to shame you into not being who you are, saying what you want to say.
And using God and Jesus as your freaking weapon. Give me a break.
Calling us not Christians because we've taken the temples that God gave us and turned them into fucking physiques of gloriousness. Like, you want to be mad at that shit? You want to call me the bad Christian because I honor my wife and I celebrate her success and I celebrate what she's done and I show to the world what's possible with a fucking human being? How dare you fucking come off and act like I'm not a Christian? How dare you stand on your fucking pedestal? Oh, well, I have sin too. Let me just take the specks out of my eyes. No.
Yeah, that one.
These are the people. These are the people. Honestly, I love it. You and I talk about this. We fucking love it because that light burns your eyes so fucking bad. And today you curse, and today you say, well, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. But the truth of the matter is secretly you go home and you go, fuck, I need to do better. I need to do more. I need to do more. The thing that absolutely boggles my mind is that a man and I assume that you're a man because you look like a man, and I suspect that you probably have a penis down there, and nowadays you probably identify as a fucking fire hydrant or a goddamn umbrella. I don't know. Well, that's a different podcast for a different day, but I'm just going to assume that you identify as a masculine of male because you talk about leading men, you talk about these other things, yet you are so fucking afraid of a man who celebrates his wife's success and her journey and her work. And how dare you bring in, it's not Christian, and protect and the sanctity I honor my wife more than 99.9% of the motherfuckers out there. Why do I know this? Friend, you're on here jerking off to my wife's pictures.
And worried about your friends
jerking off. And
you're
fucking married. Wait. This is the second part that we need to talk about. You think that your fucking buttery hands doing the 5-knuckle shuffle has anything to do with me and my wife? Or my wife in a fucking bikini? No, motherfucker. It has to do with your lust, your inability to control your fucking mind and your heart and your soul. It's your disconnection from your God. It is your inability to tell truth. It is your inability to stand as a fucking man of honor and truth. This has nothing to do with a woman. Not even you, Saxony.
No, any woman.
Because if somebody's jerking off to you, they're going to be jerking off to 800 other fucking women.
Yep.
It has your inability. It's your inability, friend, to stand as a man of honor and truth. How dare you pass that buck to somebody who's done work? You're the same lazy sack of shit that thinks that your man titties jiggling around has anything to do with McDonald's. Mm-hmm. And you're the same fucking fat fuck who wants to blame your inability to get in shape and to do the fucking work like I have done, like my wife has done. And you want to blame that on someone else? And somehow you claim the nobility of Christian in this conversation, friend?
That's the worst part, is bringing... I don't want to get too far into that.
No,
but
let's go into that. Sax, we need to, because this is real.
Is using
this
Jesus,
is real. This is what's happening. This is why 51% of marriages end in divorce. Let's really lay this shit on the table. Porn is a fucking problem. It's not the porn, though. You want to know the problem? Pornhub is not the problem. The problem is men who don't have the audacity to fucking stand to discipline their tongue and their mind and their heart. They go to those places. Mm-hmm. If no one went there, they wouldn't exist. If men never had this addiction and the inability to stand as a fucking man, those places wouldn't exist. So while we look at Pornhub and all of these porn sites as the problem, no, the weak-ass motherfucking men are the problem. Mm-hmm. The weak-ass men are the fucking problem. It ain't the Pornhub, it ain't the porn sites, it's the weak fucking men who wave the flag of Christianity, who wave the flag of nobility. You're the fucking problem, pal. You're the fucking problem with your children. You're the reason that your marriage is disconnected. You're the reason that your wife doesn't trust you. You're the reason that you think somehow your inability to control your hand on your dick has anything to do with my sexy wife.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Oh, that was great, babe.
I do this shit all day long.
Right?
I do this shit all day long.
It's
I'm
really
fired up about this
because in the comments, because if you think about this too, is then you've got all the virtue signalers that are like, oh well, my wife doesn't have to do that. I'm so glad my wife doesn't have to do that. I don't have to do anything. I'm not having to do it. I don't make a living off of my rear end. You don't make your living off of my rear end. It's not about that. But if that's how you see it, that's on you.
Exactly.
You see it as like, hey, I love my wife, and most people aren't confident enough in their marriages to celebrate their partner, because you know what happens if I make my husband look too good to the marketplace? Could I lose him? Because I've been advertising.
Let's go down that rabbit hole.
Because I've been advertising.
Yep.
Oh, look at this! I've got this top tier man of a husband. Now, if I was in scarcity, I'd be like, ooh, I don't want to say quite how good he is because I could lose him. But I'm not worried about losing my husband because I'm a fucking badass woman.
Preach.
And it's the same thing. Like, you're not afraid to put me on a pedestal because you actually want me on that pedestal because you know that I work hard to be at that level. And it has nothing to do, and you're not afraid to lose me in the process because you know that just you building me up and me building you up only makes us stronger and only shines a brighter light for those who need that kind of support and need the example in their marriages. I get women all the time saying, I love how much Sean puts you on that pedestal and preaches and tells the world how wonderful you are. I really wish my husband would. I really wish your husband would too, girl. I really fucking wish. But you know what? He's probably way too insecure to tell the world how fucking great you are because he knows that he doesn't deserve you because he has not stepped up and done a goddamn thing to deserve you. Ooh. And you're hanging out because you've got probably a good ass heart and some kids involved. So no, I don't fucking feel bad when my husband puts me on the internet in my freaking something that's not even very provocative, honestly. It's something I wear at the swimming pool. Like, it's nothing. That's what's crazy to me is I'm like, does it shock you because it's alluding to something? Also, that's your problem, not mine.
I get fired up on this for a number of different reasons, but let me tell you one of the main reasons, friends, is because as a coach, as somebody who has literally worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I don't make that number up. I've literally coached thousands of fucking people. A vast majority of them, a great deal of them, men. I see the epidemic. There's a reason that Saxony and I have the relationship we do, because I got sick of being a fucking punk ass bitch. I got sick of being a soy boy sitting around worrying that if my wife got too fucking hot that she would leave me. So what did I do? I stepped my fucking game up. And we are equally yoked in excellence. You and I are equally yoked in excellence. And this is where most marriages are not, is that they are not equally yoked. You have let yourselves go, and not just physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. You do not connect as fucking partners. If you take on the sanctity of marriage, if you have chosen a human being, if you have vowed to be with that person, you're one of two things, either all the fuck in or all the fuck out. Make a choice. Make a fucking choice.
And you owe your partner and God excellence.
You owe yourself excellence.
Yes.
You owe yourself excellence. You owe yourself the all-in virtue of having a relationship where there is no fear in leaving, in growing too big, in excelling too far past the other person. You owe it to yourself. But this is what's fascinating. Half, literally listening right now, all of you listening to this, half of you have either been through a divorce or will go through a divorce. That's a statistic. That is a nationwide fucking statistic. 50% of marriages end in divorce. And I know why they end in divorce. I know why porn is running so rampant. I know why these quote-unquote men and leaders act like little fucking babies. They act like little teeny scared boys. You need a binky and a fucking diaper, bro. You need a fucking binky and a diaper. You ain't no man. You haven't stepped up. You can't even fucking take a woman's hand in marriage. You're still rolling around in Singleville. And you claim to somehow have this game fucking figured out. I know this because I played in that land. And then I realized I wanted more. I wanted to become more. I wanted to stand a little bit taller. I wanted to honor the woman that I loved in a place that made me uncomfortable. And so I did work to get there. And right here, right now, as you guys are listening to this fires me the fuck up because I too get these messages. I get hundreds of messages a week, Easily. Sometimes a day. Between Facebook and Instagram, like there's some days where I get a couple hundred messages a fucking day. And I get messages from men who are terrified of stepping into that space, who don't know how to honor their wife, who don't know how to step into the true divinity of relationship, of being a fucking king to a queen, of honoring that place. They're so scared of their work and of their church and of the judgment and of social media and everything else that they literally play like a little fucking boy until their wife walks out on them. And they go, I don't know what happened. What happened? Wait, what happened? I haven't dated you in 10 fucking years. I haven't honored the work that you've done as my wife, as my co-creator. Oh, wait a second. I've been balls deep in fucking working and building this shit that I forgot that I was even fucking married. I went from being in shape when we got married to literally running around with saggy ass man fucking tits. And somehow I'm confused at why you left me.
Yeah.
I get these messages all fucking day long. And I'm here to tell you, I don't really give a shit what y'all do. Because I'm going to go home with my sweet wife and we're going to make love and we're going to run around naked and we're going to act like little fucking kids and we're going to have a goddamn great time doing it.
We sure are.
And the truth of the matter is whether you do or don't do with this podcast, with whatever we do, I don't fucking care.
Right.
However, if you are one who does say, I want more, then by God, fucking do more. If you're somebody who's listening to this just to be a fucking critic or a troll, good on you. I don't really give a shit. I know this shit stings you deep down, and you can watch me and my wife continue to fucking win. And I promise you, we will continue to spike the ball in the fucking end zone because we run that plays. We fucking did the work. We got to the end zone, and we will spike the ball every fucking time. And if that offends you, I don't give a shit. However, if you are literally someone, we should do a dare. Dare me to not say fuck one podcast.
We have never had a non-explicit episode.
Not
ever.
One. If you are someone who wants more, if you are a woman that watches how I treat my wife, if you are a man who watches how my wife treats me, if you are a couple, if you are in a relationship, and you've made it to this day. And you've chosen to make it to this day, whether it's been hard, whether it's been easy, whether it's been all of the above. Like, we get you. We understand. Trust me, we understand.
Oh, yeah.
I bring this fire to you today because the call is now. Like there has never been a more important time in the history of this world for children to need parents who are deeply connected to one another, who honor the fuck out of each other, who celebrate each other.
Yes.
If I don't celebrate my wife, how could I ever expect my sons to celebrate and honor a woman? Mm-hmm. Let me repeat that for all of you that have kids. If I don't honor my wife and celebrate my wife, where will my children ever learn to honor and celebrate a woman? If I am not intimate and passionate and loving towards my wife, where will my boys learn that? From school? From church? From the pastor? From a book? It's my job and it's my duty as a man to do this. Mm-hmm. Period, end of story.
Yep.
There has never been a greater time and greater need than now for couples to shore up the holes in the boat. There has never been a greater need right now. And if you're a Christian, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. If you believe in God, you know that there's a war happening right now. You know that there is a war from the adversary. You know the devil is hard fucking at work, and the legion of people that he has doing his bidding is fierce. Mm-hmm. Which means that we must, as a counter to that, be as fierce. If you're a Christian and you're seeing the war on families and the war on children and the war on goodness, mm-hmm. you cannot do anything other than meet that with the same fucking ferocity and fire. Period.
Yes.
And so long as you two are dabbling and worrying about dumb bullshit, so long, fellas, as you're going over and jerking yourself off to other fucking women, so long as women are sitting there bitching and moaning and complaining about their fucking husbands and all this other bullshit, you will never be an ally for God. You will never be doing his work. You will be constantly dabbling in mediocrity, and you will be owned by the adversary. Period. End of story.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think this is the first episode I've started to sweat a little bit. I'm like fucking sweating out a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm passionate about this, man. And yeah, go ahead, babe.
So if you think about all the ways we celebrate each other, I'm not as intense as him, so I'm just going to go, why is it okay to just celebrate how much money you made? Or how many people showed up to your event? Or why is it okay to celebrate how many cars are in your garage, or how many diamonds you've got on your finger, or whatever it may be? Why is it not okay then? Why is there somehow this like, oh, we need, but we can't do the physical body thing mm-hmm. because that's objectifying. So what is all this other shit? Oh, that's okay, and this is not, like, who decides that? That's what drives me crazy is the people, and they. I'm really shocked by some of the people, because I'm like, I thought better of you in this. Like, I really thought. I didn't think that you were playing on that. Yeah, that small of a game. Yeah. You know, but I think it goes back to the scarcity of, you know, it's like a lot of I know a lot of women. I happen to know a lot of women, and I see some of their relationships, and they are hidden a little bit. Right. They're pulled back into a more of a shadow, and these are big, bright, light women. And it's okay. Like, I've gone through that process before, and maybe it's them trying to figure out where they stand on things. But, you know, to say that, like, that's bad, right? Really, really, it just upsets me in the fact that it's like, I don't like the fact that someone else is making rules for me based on what's okay for me to be proud of. Right. I should be able to be proud of whatever the fuck I've worked hard for. Right. Because I know I've got a good heart and my values are in the right place, and I've got an insanely close relationship to God. And God fucking wants me to win. Mm. And I guarantee that when I go, you know, after this life, when I go back and see him, he's going to be like, thanks for fucking making the most. He probably won't say fuck, but maybe God will say fuck to me. I don't know. We'll find out. But it's like, you know, thanks for going all in. Thanks for taking this seriously. Like, thanks for actually showing up and doing what I expected you to do, what you expected you to do before you came down here on this earth. And don't fall into this bullshit, because it's so easy for us to be led like sheep into an ideology or into what's okay and what's not okay. I mean, 5 minutes ago, we were like being shamed for not wearing a goddamn mask to our face from walk to the hostess stand to our table. I'm sorry, but some things just don't align with me, and I don't really give a fuck who's complaining about it. Right. This is one of them.
Right. And yeah. again, I said this at the beginning of the episode. I will continue on with my life. I will continue on loving my wife. I will continue building my dreams and building my empire and building my castle and all the other fucking shit, regardless. Mm-hmm. Regardless of how small people want to play. Regardless of whether or not men want to go to Pornhub or they want to be shitty fathers and shitty husbands. Whether or not people think that I'm objectifying my wife. I'm going to continue to live my life on my terms. But I would like to believe that there are people listening to this right now that want that same reality.
For sure.
And I would like to believe that that's what many people tune in here for, is to wean some sort of goodness and knowledge and insight that makes their life better.
We get so many messages.
Like, it would boggle your guys' mind, truly.
And it literally it's why we have such fire. Well,
Right.
It's part of
One
why
of the
we have
reasons.
so much fire.
We started... Go ahead.
Is that it matters to us that we stand in our truth with
Right.
this. Like, it's easy to be bullied out of something, and a lot of people will allow themselves to be bullied out of something because it's scary to stand in a space where not everybody's standing.
Right.
You know, it's uncomfortable, but we get such feedback, and we have seen time and time again relationships right in front of our eyes transform into something spectacular because Sean and I are willing to be transparent, authentic, real, talk about blowjobs, talk about things. Like, it happens if you like it or not. And if it's not happening and you like it too, well, then you should really talk about it. And it's okay. Like, I'm okay to be in a position where some of the population thinks that I'm being objectified. I'm not. I have a husband that's proud of me, and I guarantee every single woman out there wishes her husband celebrated her.
Yeah.
I don't know one out there that would say, "Oh, I wish my husband would just ignore me and not talk to me or show the world how important I am to them."
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that woman.
Yeah. And I truly believe, like, you and I were called to this podcast. You and I were called. Literally, it's ironic that tomorrow's our second wedding anniversary. And our very first episode was done right before we got married.
It was.
Our very first episode was shot, I think it was 3 or 4 days before we got married. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this was our challenge to us, to grow as a couple, to open ourselves up, to share, to continue to share. And there's been moments where, I mean, hell, we didn't do a podcast for like a couple months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
we were going through
we've been really,
stuff.
really, really transparent on this. And this is, you know, I believe right now that God is putting together an army of people. And I can promise you, friends, that the work that this army is being called to do will be some of the most difficult work done ever. I mean, if you're a Christian, if you've read the Bible, if you've studied, you know, and you believe anything, even if you don't, you still understand that there has to be a counter to everything. And as we're watching literally the moral fabric of the family and of the home be ripped to shreds by our government, by our culture, by our society, as we're watching this happen, the counter to that must be fierce. Mm-hmm. The counter to that will be isolated. The counter to that will be shamed. The counter to that will be demonized. You know, I mean, when you stand for what's right, when you stand for what you believe in, I don't want a man in a woman's room with my wife or with my daughter. Period. End of fucking story. We're not going to go down another podcast episode, but I'm just telling you where I fucking stand. And I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I don't care about social appropriations and all this other bullshit and what everybody else is trying to fucking collaborate and make, like, the Bible talks about making evil good and making the things that are demonic look presentable. This is what's literally happening in front of us. And I am a man who will fucking stand. I will not allow a man to go into the bathroom while my daughter's in there. Period. End of fucking story. You want to throw down with me in the airport? I don't fucking care. That ain't happening. Period. End of story. And I truly believe that there's a lot of men out there listening to me right now that believe the same way, that feel the same way. My question for you, friend, is will you fucking stand? Will you too stand? Will you do the work to fortify your home and your marriage to be able to go to war? Will you get your house in order? Will you get your house in order? Plain and simple. Will you do the work necessary to fortify your marriage, to fortify yourself, to fortify yourself against the temptations of the world, or will you continue to blame your jerking off on some hot chick on Instagram? Will you continue to use your masturbation issues and your lack of ability to connect with your wife, your lack of ability to be sexually aroused by your wife on a picture from Instagram? Because that's what the devil would have you believe. Mm-hmm. That's what the adversary would have you believe.
Can you imagine what the world would look like if we had to hide all the temptations from those who cannot control being tempted? Well, fucking McDonald's wouldn't be around. Sorry.
Well,
it's not how it's going to roll.
I think that probably there's a high probability that you're going to have to do some work on this, Richie, because I think I might have been yelling a little bit. I think we should have worked on the sound levels.
Yeah, we
something on this thing because I think I might have broke it.
We both, yeah.
Normally you need earphones, like you can listen in and you can tell, but we don't have those, so it might be a little hard. Yeah, I mean I'm barely hopping right now and it's already up in the red. Look, I feel like, and this is really good actually for you and I feel like the last 2 weeks, like there's been this resurgence in this energy between us of like true independence. Like we're separating from what we thought we were and where we thought we were in the collective, if you will, in a way that is really, really, really powerful.
We're following faith very, very, very much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, everything from, closing down the Lion's Den to, the new chapters that we're writing and the new things that we're doing. I feel like, again, we're very much in the game like anybody listening to this, but we continue to ask God for more. We're like, use us. Like, use us. We want to be used. We want to be of service. We want to do good. We want to do your work. And I feel like, we keep asking for this, and all of a sudden these doors open and these things show up, and we're kind of moving further and further and further away from the quote unquote mainstream and the main line, and the messages are starting to change a little bit. But like, I feel like even this podcast, I mean, this was probably the more fiery one I think that we've done, or that I've done, probably. But I truly think that this is what's needed. I mean, how else do you, how else do you combat, the adversary? How else do you combat these messages that just tear people down, that have become so normal? The mediocrity has become so normal, and divorce has become so normal, and being overweight and broke and unhappy. Like we've normalized depression. You had a sad day. We should throw you on some Zoloft. Yeah, you're probably depressed. Oh, you're just not feeling that great. Yeah, let's pop some pills down your throat. We've normalized in our culture and our society so much fucking evil and so much bad that even the conversation of something else is obscure. It's just so odd.
And they've taken things that are natural and demonize them, which is confusing. Right. I mean, not only does that confuse children growing up, but it confuses grown people trying to figure out, well, why am I not normal?
You
are normal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of not normal people. There's some fucked up bad people in the world. There are exceptions to this.
I posted the other day the screenshot of the text messages when I said to you, what's happening after hockey? And you're like,
sex and food.
Sex and food. And I said, in that order? And you said like the LOL, and then I said, I'll get a burrito while you ride me. And it's like cute, funny banter between a husband and a wife that I would suspect that other couples, the amount of negative feedback from that, with people saying like, why would you share any of this, or how could you share these things?
Here's why. Because here's the thing. I can tell you with absolute certainty, none of it is done for attention. It's like we don't even think that it's for attention. It's the fact that we want to model, and we're not even actually doing it intentionally. This is just what we do naturally. Is we like to model what a healthy marriage is. It's our healthy marriage. It maybe not be the healthy marriage or everybody's perfect marriage, healthy marriage. It's ours. Right. That's healthy for us. Are we okay to show you? Yes. Here, you want to see this? You want to see this? We'll show you most things. We'll show you whatever our connection looks like. Right. We don't care. Like, we're open. And that is part of being open.
We talk about
that's
how we
literally
fight. We talk about how we flirt.
Yes, we talk about how we write notes on the mirror.
Right.
You know, how we all the other little things. Why would we pull out little exceptions like that and not share that? I mean, there are certain things that we have deemed not appropriate to share.
We're not releasing sex tapes.
We don't have. Yeah, we're not Tom and Pamela or you know what I mean. But it's. I just watched Pamela's thing last night, so Pamela Anderson's fresh on my brain. But that's where we're at. We think it's just like, that's just us.
Right.
If that triggers you, hey, I'm sorry. If you're upset because your kids read it, no, I'm not really sorry. I'm being very facetious.
Right.
If you're upset that your kids saw that, why are your kids following Sean Whalen first off? Like, yeah. I mean, some explicit content. You're very fierce and outspoken, and it's not our job to censor or to shrink to fit you and what you need and what you deem appropriate. It's never going to fucking happen. I'm never going to be that way. I wasn't born that way. I was this way before I met Sean. Sean was this way before he met me. And we sure as shit are way bigger in that together.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we covered it all. Until next time, everybody. Anything else, dear?
I'm really excited where this is. We know, Sean and I know where we're headed next. It's being built and grown and nurtured right now. Yeah. And there's some really beautiful big things on the horizon for us and for the world. And this is all a part of it. So if you're listening to this, we're grateful for that. And there is so much more to come. So stay on the ride with us and,
Or don't.
Or don't. Yeah, I mean, you don't.
We're
just like to put the invitation out. You're invited to come along.
I'll say this, and then we'll wrap it up. Like, I've never felt more clear in my life. Uh-huh. Like, I've never felt more connected to God and more clear than I am right now.
Absolutely.
My entire life. Mm-hmm. And it's not like a marketing ploy or a thing. Or I mean, if you really think about it, if I was all about the money and the whole thing, why would I shut down a multi-million-dollar a year business? Mm-hmm. Literally a multi-million-dollar a year business. One of the longer standing, besides Tony Robbins, coaching groups out there, period. Right. I helped birth half the coaching groups that are out there. I helped half the guys that you know, 75% of the guys that you know, start their shit. We're truly, truly, truly on a path of passion right now. And it's more fun, it's more daunting, it's more interesting than I ever would have thought. But it's also more freeing and it's more liberating. Mm-hmm. It's like it's so, I don't know how else to explain it, but it's what's needed. Yeah, it's where we need to be, and what we need to be doing.
And I just want a little asterisk in there. Just the fact that I don't have an OnlyFans account doesn't mean I judge you if you have one.
Sure,
I've said this before because I bring up OnlyFans a lot because it seems that everybody has one nowadays.
Lots of people do.
Not everyone. I'm exaggerating. But if you have one, I'm also not judging you. I'm just making a point that, like, if it was about sex and attention, we'd have a freaking OnlyFans account. Like, So do with it what you please.
And here's the deal. Like, you know, when you invite me into a conversation by bringing me into a conversation, you should know what you're going to get with me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think people should know by now. There's probably a lot of people that don't know me or have not been around me or experienced me at all. But if you invite me into a conversation or you mention me in a conversation and bring me into a conversation, you should know that I'm going to bring everything. Like, I'm going to bring my reality, my truth, unfiltered, straight to the fucking point. And I really don't mind where you go with it or what you feel about it or what you do about it, which is truly the most liberating, freeing place that I've ever been in my entire life. Mm-hmm. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Anything else, dear?
Oh, I've got lots more, but I think I'm good for today.
Are we good for today?
I am good for today.
Happy day before our anniversary.
I know. We did it.
We're doing it.
I know, but like it's like, you know, when you get to write like a check, I guess I did another one.
Yeah, we made it 2 years. Felt like 200.
It was great. It's been awesome.
All right, we'll do another podcast tomorrow, guys. We love you. We appreciate you. And I ask is this, and I ask this every now and again, but I would really appreciate it if you shared this podcast. Mm-hmm. This will, I'm sure, make some people uncomfortable. I'm sure that this will tickle some people in a way that They probably haven't been tickled in a while, but it would mean a lot. And I think more than anything, it would also help people hear some things that they need to hear. And we can only go so far on our own. And with your guys' help, we can reach a lot more people and help a lot more people. I truly believe that. Mm-hmm. So do us a solid if you feel inclined. If at any point in time you were saying amen, or if you're like, fuck you guys, but I know Leandra is listening.
I kept thinking of Leandra. I was like, she's probably like
clapping.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Leandra.
Do us a solid. Share this for us, please. Leave a comment, leave a review for us over on iTunes, and if you wouldn't mind doing us a solid and sharing this, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Much love. See you guys.
Bye.